there, Mary here from Well Within Studio. Today's video, we've got 5 different movements for you. It's going to be a combination of band and body weight exercises. There are 2 different types of bands that we can use for these. One are these bands that have the handles on them. The other type are these long loop bands. I prefer the loop bands, so I'm actually going to use those today, but if you have the ones with the handles, please swap those in at your preference. With these loop bands, the thickness of the band is going to let us know the level of resistance. So the thicker the band, the heavier the resistance, the thinner the band, the lighter the resistance. Those bands with the handles tend to have the weight listed on the ends of them. So as I mentioned, 5 different movements. We're going to go through each of the movements up front. Then we'll get into the workout on the back end. I've got it planned to do 5 repetitions, 3 rounds through. Do the number of reps and rounds that you have time, energy, and comfortability for today. Let's go ahead and get into those 5 movements. Our first movement, we're going to start out with the band. It's an overhead press. What we're going to do is we're going to step into the band and take a bit of a wide-legged stance, not super wide, but a little bit, about shoulder width distance apart. And then we're going to pull that band up to our shoulders. So I've got my hands resting on my shoulders like my knuckles, palms pointed toward the ceiling. And we're just going to press up, straight up overhead. And we do 5 repetitions of that, getting a nice overhead press in. The closer our feet are together, the less resistance we're going to have on that band. Our second movement is body weight only. If you'd like to use the bands, you can to add a little bit of weight to it, but it's going to be a squat. So what we'll do is we'll stand with our legs in like a wide leg position. We're going to squat down and stand straight up, keeping our back nice and flat, squeezing our glutes together at the top of it as we're pressing up, pressing through our heels so that we're really working our body through the full range of motion and the correct muscle groups on that. Movement number 3, we're going to come back to the band. It's a curl, so a bicep curl with the band. Again, like we did with the overhead press, we're going to stand in the band and reach down and grab it. The further down on the band that we grab, the more resistance we're going to have in that. So when I use this orange band, I tend to grab around my knees because I know that that's going to be a solid enough resistance for me, but not so much that I can't move the band. And I've got just gripping that band in my hands. Now we're going to pull straight up, palms facing in. That's a little much for me right now, so I'm going to slide my hands up just a skosh. My palms are pointed in toward my body, and I'm keeping my elbows nice and tight to my hips. So we'll do 5 repetitions of these curls. Movement number 4 is going to have no equipment. It is more of a stability exercise. We are also going to work our hamstrings a little bit, but it's going to be mostly stability in our legs. I'll show you 2 different ways to do this. We're going to start by standing on one foot, bringing the other one. So I'm bringing my right leg up, got my knee, I got my thigh parallel to the floor. We're going to kick back and kind of touch the floor and swing our leg forward. So we're kind of just, it's like a pendulum, like swinging back and forth with control. So going back and forth, bringing that leg up. You're going to feel a lot of muscular strength through this standing leg, some core work as we're stabilizing our body. If doing the movement where we're keeping our foot up off the floor the whole time doesn't feel comfortable to you, or you're not feeling like you're at that place in your workout yet, that's not a problem. What we'll do is we'll step back, tap that toe on the floor, come forward back to center, raise the knee up, tap it on the floor, step back, tap it, raise the knee up. So we'll do just like this instead, until we can kind of get used to sliding back and forth, and we'll build that strength up through that movement. For our 5th movement, we're going to be down on the floor. You can use a band, you don't have to. We're actually not using this for any sort of resistance. It's more just like an object to help us keep our hands at the same distance apart. And it is like a side-to-side banded row. So again, no, we're not putting any resistance. I'm not pulling tight on this band or anything. But I've got it up overhead, got my feet on the floor. I've got a slight bend in my knees. And this is a core movement. And we're just going to alternate side to side. So I'm just tapping my right foot hand on the floor, bringing my left hand over, feeling the contraction in my oblique muscles in my abs. So we'll do 5 repetitions each side of this. And again, if you wanted to, no band is necessary. We'll just put our hands up overhead and alternate just like this. Okay. Okay, we've got 5 repetitions, 3 rounds through, starting with those overhead presses. Let's go ahead and get set up. And keep a nice little soft bend in your knees so we're not totally locked out. Here we go, pressing straight up overhead. 3, 2, and 1. Okay. Gently come out of that. Put this down and come into that wide leg stance for our squats. And let's go ahead and rep out 5 squats. All right, how's everybody doing today? It's a beautiful day here. Grateful for the sunshine, 70-degree weather in the fall. 2 and 1. All right, we'll pick up our band, do those curls. 'Tis the season. I got a little bit of a head cold. I didn't think I was sick, and the last couple days it's kind of just snuck up on me and gotten progressively more uncomfortable. Here we go. 5. Whoop, that's a little extreme. 4. It's all right to back off on that a little bit on any of them. 3, 2, and 1. Excellent. Yeah, so if we're noticing, oh, that's a little much. I feel way too much having to like really muscle it up. It's okay to slide your hands up a little bit, or if it's feeling not heavy enough, slide them down a skosh. We'll come into that single leg stance, pendulum. So we'll do 5 repetitions on one side, 5 on the other. Here we go. Keeping in mind that if we'd prefer, or it just feels more in alignment with where we're at right now, we can do that tapping of the toe instead of keeping the foot up off the floor the whole time. Here's 3, 2, and 1. Okay, we'll switch sides. See, even I'm still working on that stability. And here we go, 5. It's always interesting to me about these stabilizing movements like this is that I find out which side of my body is a little bit more stable than the other. That's always helpful. There's 3. Because then I learn more about, like, am I injured somewhere? 2, is one side a little bit less or more flexible? 1. Okay, we'll come down to seated for those side-to-side band rows. Yeah, so I find it to be really helpful. Also, it's just really beneficial to our body overall to practice doing movements unilaterally, which is both sides at the same time, which is a lot of what we're doing. Okay, here we go. And then, unilaterally is one side, bilaterally is both sides. Bilaterally, we're doing both sides at the same time, as well as unilaterally. There's 3, 2, because sometimes when we're doing that bilateral stuff, 1 and 1. Okay, we'll go ahead and come back up to standing and get ready for round 2. In those bilateral movements, our stronger side tends to kind of, for lack of a better term, pick up the slack, quote unquote, for the part side of our body that maybe not be as strong or might be injured or a little less stable. Let's go ahead and get set up for those overhead presses. And so by practicing unilateral single side movements, here we go. we allow our body, both sides, to move independently through the movement and build up that one flexibility, strength, mobility on its own without even if it's a little bit of assistance. We'll drop that to the floor, get set up for our squats. Here we go. Without that, even a tiny little bit of extra assistance from that stronger side really helps that, and it can facilitate growth of that side of the body. Here's 2 and 1. Okay, we'll grab the band again for those curls. So adding a little bit of, even if it's just once every couple of days or every 3 days or whatever, once a week even, of doing 1 or 2 unilateral movements, single side movements, can be really beneficial. All right, here we go. And keeping in mind, we want to do that both for our upper body and our lower body. When we're adding those in, 3, start with a lower weight, 2, and 1, or no weight, and being really mindful of the reality of our bodies, that one side might be stronger than the other, and so it might feel much easier on that side. We'll go ahead and do the pendulums I got my left foot on the floor, but you can start with your right foot, whichever works best for you. Okay, here we go. That it might feel easier to one side, so don't go up on the weight on that one side and then go down on the other side, or don't go up in the difficulty. Here's 2 on one side and down on the other. Stay, last one on this side, 1. Go to the degree, the difficulty, the weight will switch sides, the difficulty, whatever that might be, of the side that is quote unquote weaker, and build that up. And know that what we're doing by staying consistent on both sides, here's 3, is we're getting that weaker side up to the same level. And here's 1, as the stronger side. And then eventually what ends up happening is we grow the strength at the same time through each side individually, and both sides, and those bilateral movements, those both sides of the body movements, like a squat, both sides will equally take on that weight, that movement, the mobility of it, whatever that might be. All right, here we go. So it can be tempting to push it on the weak, stronger side and dial it back on the less strong side. But don't let that fool you. 4 and 5. Awesome. We'll go ahead and come back up to standing for our last round. Yeah. As I've gotten more familiar with doing unilateral movements, I've learned, okay, when I'm doing arm stuff, my left shoulder, I can move more weight on my left arm than my right arm. Okay, we'll get set up for those overhead presses, which can seem a little odd since I'm right-handed, 5, but I had a shoulder injury in college, 4, so that totally makes sense to me that my left side is stronger, 2, and 1, than my right side in those movements. And really that's because I admittedly drop that band and get set up for our squats. Didn't respect my body as much as I could have or should have. Here we go. As I healed through that shoulder injury, in my early 20s, when we're younger, sometimes because our body is so adaptable, 3, and can heal so quickly, 2, and we might have a higher pain tolerance, 1, pick up the band again. Super easy to kind of push it a little more than maybe we have the actual capacity for. So I made some errors in judgment as a 21-year-old in lots of ways, but that was one of them. So Now in my 30s, I'm really getting back up, building that back up in a more thoughtful way. All right, here we go. Last round of curls. But anyway, so the whole point of that was to say that I recognize that. So as I've gotten more used to doing those and I add them into all of my training plans, 2 and 1, I just know, okay, it's going to feel a little bit lighter on the left side, and that's okay. I'm building it up. And I notice as time goes on that I'm able to go up just a tiny bit more on both sides, and that's always very cool to me. All right, we've got that last round of pendulums. 5, 4. Yeah, so long story long, 3. I'm a big fan of tossing in unilateral movements, those single side movements. Here's 2, last one on this leg, and 1. Go ahead and switch sides. Yeah, I'm a big fan of tossing in those single side movements to things. They're really helpful in a lot of ways. Stability is key to like our, health performance, our fitness performance. 4, 3. So, 2. My leg's a little wobbly. Last one. 1. So, come back down to the floor. And we'll do that last round of side to side band rows. I really love these. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2. Last one. 1. Awesome. That's our workout for today. Whew. Thank you so much for joining me. Looking forward to seeing you in the next workout. Hope you had a great workout. Make sure to grab some water, stay well hydrated, take a little walk if you'd like. Whatever you do for the rest of the day, I hope that you enjoy it. Have a great day. Take kind care of yourself.